Oh, you know, we got to talk about the Hugh Hefner thing today. Hugh Hefner passed away this week. He was 91. No way in hell can you say that he went to a better place. I mean, when you think about it. But is anybody, are you guys still reading Playboy? I haven't looked at a Playboy in years. I used to read it on a regular basis, but yeah, I know you look at the pictures, right? Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say here. Yeah, let me know if you're still buying Playboy. Obviously, somebody's buying those magazines because they're still selling them. You would think by now all that stuff would be online. You would just get everything you want on the computer thingy there. But, you know, companies like Barnes & Noble, they're still, Barnes & Noble is still in business. They still got that big giant magazine rack. Somebody's buying those magazines. But who? Or is it the kind of thing where you buy Playboy and you just don't want to admit it? Let's talk about it here. Number 663-1270. I would love to hear from you today. My name is Jim Walsh, and the name of the radio station is Super Talk 1270. Online at supertalk1270.com. If you're in an office, heading into the office or whatever, you can just plunk your electric twanger and get us on the internet thingy there, and you're good to go. Now with the Hugh Hefner thing, obviously he leaves behind what some would call a mixed legacy. There are people who didn't like the man. I'm not among them. Well, truth is, I don't really have a strong opinion about him one way or the other. But I must admit, I really, I really kind of dig his lifestyle. If that's the way you're going to live, if you're going to live that long, that's the way to do it. You know? No problem with that. But he did leave behind a mixed legacy for a lot of folks. There are a lot of folks who are not too happy with what he did, and I'm not just talking about the religious nut jobs. I mean, they are out there. They come out of the woodwork for these things. Oh, Hugh Hefner is in hell. And they always take such a great amount of relish in telling you that. It's like, it's a very unchristian thing to me that you would take that much joy from the idea that somebody's suffering eternal torment or whatever. Well, let me tell you something. If that's your idea of hell, I'm in. What do you think? I'm going to want to spend eternity with Pat Boone? That would be hell. Well, it's like Mark Twain said, heaven for the climate, but hell for the company. Anyway. But no, talking more about the hardcore feminist opinions. And if you want to weigh on it from that angle, you certainly can. People saying that he objectified women. I suppose he did, but you have to remember, I've never read a story of anybody putting a gun to the head of some woman and making her pose in Playboy. If it happened, I've never heard about it. Articles like this one here from CNN, written by a woman named Peggy Drexler. And this is not even one of the stronger articles. I've seen things on the net, just totally, like I say, it's not the religious thing, it's more the feminist thing, and they just, ready to rake the guy over the coals. And you're remembering Hugh Hefner, who died at 91. Many are talking about his contributions to American culture. It must be added that while those contributions do loom large, they also cast a considerable shadow. Again, the question in my mind is, who's reading Playboy these days? Who's keeping them in business? Somebody must be. Is it you? Ha, gotcha. Let me know. 663-1270. Here's a chance for all the proud Playboy readers to really come out of the woodwork, no pun intended, and, just be proud. Even if you think it's a little freaky, wear your fly that freak flag high. It's hard to say, but 663-1270, 663-1270. Some other things to talk about today. We're into the fall season. AAA has put out a study saying that a good quarter of Americans prefer traveling in the fall. And it's not necessarily all about looking at the foliage, leaf peeping, as a friend of mine calls it. A lot of people tell you, and I'm inclined to agree with them, fall is the best time of year to do your serious traveling. Especially, well, for anywhere, really. Because no matter where you're going, even if you're going to a beach resort area, everything is still open, but the crowds are gone. Any beach resort area, of course, soon as Labor Day passes, the crowds disappear by about 90%. Even the weekend crowds are not nearly what they are in the summer. And the weather's not too bad, like it is here right now. A little nippy, but not that cold. Not really cold at all, actually. And the long lines for everything, they're gone. But the only thing you really have to deal with this time of year, if you're going to an outdoorsy kind of area with a lot of parks or beaches, about the only problem you would have to deal with were the bugs, the yellow jackets. By the way, there's a story about a man who died in Minnesota. He was stung to death by yellow jackets. He was blowing leaves in his backyard. Not a joke. Because the initial report blamed the bees, but now they say, oh, no, it was the yellow jacket. Oh, yellow jackets suck. They're horrible. Bees serve a legitimate purpose in the balance of nature with flowers, pollinating flowers, and making honey. Yellow jackets are just butt heads with wings. Like the old meme on Facebook. Yeah, they seem to serve no purpose except to go around and sting people and be annoying and, kill people with anaphylactic shock. Anyway, aside from that, though, the fall is a really good time to go out and do your traveling and see the world, see whatever it is you're going to see. So where would you recommend going for the fall, for a fall vacation? Where have you been in the fall and you said it was great? Yeah, share it with the rest of us here. 663-1270. Love to hear from you. Of course, you can weigh in on the website as well. I've got all the latest news stories there and, of course, information about what's happening over the weekend. And you can comment on any of the stories we're running there at supertalk1270.com. I've got a recording of the interview that one of our people did on our sister station, KACL, Cool 98.7 down the hall here, with our friend Wish in the morning. He spoke with a lady who is she's from Bismarck, and she was one of the Playmates of the Month back in the day, about 20-some years ago. And she had some things to say about the passing and about the legacy of Hugh Hefner. But tell me if you're reading Playboy, and tell me why you read it. We always have a lot of fun with this, man. There are actually people who like to read Playboy for the articles, and people make jokes about that. Oh, nobody reads Playboy. But the articles are great. The interviews are fantastic. They get people like Jimmy Carter and Malcolm X and Saddam Hussein, whoever. It's pretty good. So tell me if you're still reading Playboy. 663-1270. Jim Walsh on Supertalk 1270. Supertalk1270.com.
Right now, 47.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Supertalk 1270.
I was trying to come up with some appropriate music here. Or maybe the proper term would be inappropriate. Some appropriate, inappropriate music is what I'm saying, because we're talking about the legacy of Hugh Hefner. And I've got this interview I want to play for you in a couple of minutes here from our sister station down the hall, Cool 98.7. Thank you, Wish. Wish in the morning guy over there playing them classic hits. And he spoke with Carmen Berg, who is the local lady who was actually a Playmate of the Month a few years ago. The only one to our knowledge who actually hails from North Dakota, the Peace Garden state. And we get her take on Hugh Hefner, what kind of person he was, what kind of man he was, what kind of businessman he was. And I think you'll enjoy that. And we're talking about this because, of course, Hugh Hefner passed away this week at 91, leaving behind what some would call a mixed legacy. And I thought the guy was great myself. Based on what I knew about him, I was very envious of his lifestyle. I had no problem with that. The American dream, baby cakes. But, some people saying, oh, you left a dark legacy, you abused women. And we're not talking so much the religious thing, although those people are out there too. He's going to hell. It always seems to me to be a bit, and I'm not religious. I'm not religious at all, but it seems to me to be very unchristian to celebrate in the idea that somebody else is going to hell. And besides, think about it. Who would you rather spend eternity with? Somebody like Jim Bakker or somebody like Hugh Hefner? Eternity with Jim Bakker, that would be hell, to me at least. 663-1270. And do you still read Playboy? Because somebody is. Yeah, they got rid of the nudity thing, then they brought it back, but they still have the great articles. They still have incredible interviews. Do you read Playboy? Because somebody out there is reading the damn magazine. Somebody out there is still buying it because it's still on the shelves. So who's looking at Playboy in this day and age? We're supposed to think, of course, that nobody reads magazines anymore. How very pre-McLuhanite of you. But somebody's buying it. Is it you? Come on, fess up. It's cool. It's cool with me, 663-1270. 663-1270. Let me get to this. We got the interview ready to go. Well, yeah, the interview's ready to go, but I just want to make sure that we're on schedule here. Peggy Drexler. She's written a couple of books on the subject of men getting along with women or not. A book called Our Fathers, Ourselves, Daughters, Fathers, and the Changing American Family. Okay. And a book called Raising Boys Without Men. Interesting. I know nothing about the books other than that. Anyway, she talks about the so-called mixed legacy of Mr. Hefner. I'll give you some excerpts here. As an activist, Hef paved the way for open talk about sex and sexuality, giving people permission to admit that they too were sexual beings and enjoyed, or at least wanted to enjoy, sex. In the Playboy clubs he opened in the 60s, he hired black comics at a time when many clubs were, for all practical purposes, segregated. As a publisher, he pushed boundaries with articles that were groundbreaking, investigative pieces by writers like Hunter Thompson, interviews with Martin Luther King, Jimmy Carter, at the time running for president, Malcolm X, a major figure in the 60s civil rights movement. But she says, it's also worth pointing out, in the spirit of open dialogue, her words, not mine, he worked his whole life to encourage the egalitarian society that he worked his whole life to encourage was apparently one largely envisioned and created for men. At which point I would say, well, what the hell's wrong with that? But I continue with the article. The terms of his rebellion undeniably depended on putting women in a second-class role. See, I personally think it's a little more complicated than that. It's always men and women, these publications, it's always kind of a two-sided thing. And certainly there are publications that are a lot more exploitative than Playboy has ever been. Playboy does have a certain aesthetic value to it, a certain artistic quality to the pictures. I think anybody would admit that. As opposed to certain magazines where you open up and it's just everything's right in your face like that, which I guess some people want, but there you go. Hef's notion of the freedom to express sexuality translated largely into freedom to express men's desire for women and the fantasy that those women would always be ready and eager to comply. Women were bunnies, the lucky ones anyway. The smart pieces by well-known journalists that he ran in his magazine, even female journalists like Margaret Atwood, were designed to enrich the intellect of the Well, what she's saying here in this article, basically is that Hugh Hefner made a fortune by marketing or pandering, if you will, to the wants and needs of men. And I would say, what the hell is wrong with that? You tell me what's wrong with that. Number here, 663-1270, 663-1270. Let me run this interview for you. It takes about 4.5 minutes, and it's a pretty interesting interview with the lady who lives in town here. Her name is Carmen Berg, right? She's from Bismarck, and she is a former Playboy Playmate of the Month.
But I definitely appreciate you taking out the time to...
There you go, the legacy of Hugh Hefner. Now, how could anybody have a problem with any of that? I certainly don't. Do you? Number here, 663-1270, 663-1270. Jim Walsh here at Super Talk 1270, supertalk1270.com. Be right back.
Right now, 47.
News and Views with Joel Heitkamp. Weekdays on Super Talk 1270.
Jim Walsh here. We're talking about the legacy of Hugh Hefner. I think it's a good one for the most part. Although I suppose some people would dispute that. If you would like to, this is your opportunity. Number here is 663-1270. Oh, what I'm saying is the man spent his life developing a product or developing a brand around a product that was marketed to the wants and needs and interests of men, guys, dudes, males, people with, testosterone. And what the hell's wrong with that? He didn't apologize for his maleness, and I know that really, that really sticks in the craw of a lot of hardcore feminist types, especially on the college campuses. Now, I don't want to turn this into a social conservative thing because I'm not a conservative, but do you really think Playboy would happen today? Probably not. Between the religious nut jobs and the hardcore man-haters on college campuses, I don't think he would get out the starting gate in this day and age. Very much a product of his time. So we're talking about the Hefner legacy. 663-1270, 663-1270. And what's a good place to go in the fall? Because AAA came out with a study talking about how a lot of people, about 1/4 of the population, prefer to take their vacations after Labor Day. In other words, right now, this time of year, September, October, maybe into November a little bit before it gets really cold, wherever you happen to be. And there's a lot to be said for that. The fall is extremely underrated as a time to go vacationing. Even the beach resort areas. You go to a beach resort now, September is winding up, but we still got some decent weather in store at the beach resort towns all around the country. It's not super cold yet in most places, not even here for that matter. But the point is, you get the best of all possible worlds with this time of year because everything's still open at these places. Usually they don't start really closing until mid-October. All the beach resort restaurants and the nightclubs and everything, even in the seasonal beach towns, they generally start shutting down, right around mid-October usually is when they start saying, okay, we're going to shut down now for the winter. We'll see you in March or April or whatever. So there's still time for that. There's still some decent weather, but you don't get the god-awful crowds that you have during the middle of the summertime. About the only thing negative you get is some of the bugs. Some of the flora and fauna can be a little bit annoying, especially with those yellow jackets. You go to the beach and you're walking down the boardwalk and, all the yellow jackets are swarming because it's their time of year now, and they're all swarming around the garbage cans and whatnot, and that can be a bit of a problem for some folks who don't like the idea of being stung on vacation. Because yellow jackets are horrible. And, man, they survive anything. You talk about evolution. You can hit a yellow jacket with a damn hammer, and it'll just come right back at you. It's like the other day when the NDSU extension people were in. We were talking about that. And the guy was saying, we got to get a good killing frost here. Get rid of some of these yellow jackets and the wasps and the bugs. And I forget who it was who said, sometimes that doesn't really work. It just kind of pisses them off a bit. It makes them even meaner. Oh, great. So there are advantages to living in an area where it gets cold early, and that is probably the one major advantage as far as I'm concerned. But what about going to places in the fall that you like to go? Like to hear about it. Share some ideas with us here as we head into October. Some folks do have a little vacation time accumulated, and they may want to use it or lose it before the end of the year. So where should we go? 663-1270, 663-1270. Got a couple of stories here. Well, I mentioned the story about the man in New England, Massachusetts, not New England, North Dakota, who was stung to death while he was blowing leaves in his backyard. Now, you would think of blowing the leaves, so it wouldn't be a problem. And by the way, the initial report said it was bees, and now they've come up with a follow-up article. They want you to know that it was yellow jackets, although I'm not sure it really matters to most people. But since yellow jackets nest underground, if you're doing yard work, and they're sneaky little boogers. You don't see them until it's too late. What can you do other than just kind of be careful, which means nothing. You're vulnerable. Maybe just hire somebody to do it for you. Or get yourself a big old environment suit. Yeah, real sad story here. Picture of this guy with his two kids, two teenage daughters, and he was out just going about his business, blowing leaves, getting the leaves together. And the yellow jackets came out and they stung him, and I guess he had anaphylactic shock and he died. And that is sad. So, a little cautionary tale for you. Personally, my strategy to avoid that is to just not rake the leaves. Just let them decay and go back to the land in their own time. Just let the leaves sit there. My neighbors love me, boy, they certainly do. Anyway, another story here. Since Halloween coming up, we're got one more day. By the way, today is a couple of anniversaries. I want to mention. The death of James Dean was today, right? No, that was tomorrow. Okay, the James Dean thing. James Dean. And there was something else. Oh, yes, the birthday of Jerry Lee Lewis. We got to play some music by the Killer before we go out today. You talk about one bad dude. Even people who don't like Elvis like Jerry Lee, because Jerry Lee was a bad dude. I mean, Elvis could be kind of a wussy, as great as he was, but Jerry Lee, he was the killer, and he still is the killer. He is the killer dilla. Great balls of fire indeed. Anyway, what else? Oh, yeah, the candy story, because, of course, we're getting up into a Halloween season. The Haunted Fort, which is not opening this weekend. It's opening next weekend over there at Fort Abraham Lincoln. Get on over there to the Haunted Fort, see the ghost of Custer. His scalp bouncing around, I guess. I don't know. Well, a couple of stories related to foods that you like and don't like and should like. First of all, let me lay this to rest. There's a terrible urban legend, as they're now called, going around about Reese's peanut butter cups. Let me set the record straight here and now. There's a story that Reese's peanut butter cups are going out of business, that they're being discontinued. Not true. All right? The folks at Reese's, actually it's the Hershey Chocolate Company. They own the brand. So it's Hershey that actually makes Reese's nowadays. By the way, Hershey, Pennsylvania is a great little town. It's a town where the chocolate company is located, and the whole town is painted chocolate brown. It's great. But it's kind of tourist trappy, but it's a lot of fun. They also have a great hockey team there. If you want to go somewhere for the fall, Hershey, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philly. But Hershey, they want everybody to know that the Reese's peanut butter cup is not being discontinued. Apparently some idiot has been spreading the false meme to the contrary. But no, they are not going away. You can be happy about that. Life will continue to be worth living because we will still have Reese's. See, that to me would be hell. We're talking about whether Hugh Hefner is going to hell. I don't think he is, because I don't believe in hell. But even if he did, I would say, wherever Hef is going, I want to go with him. Hell to me would be a place with No Reese's peanut butter cups for all eternity. That would be, I know, that's barbaric. It's unthinkable. But anyway, despite the widespread rumors making the rounds on your social media there and on the web thing, the Reese's peanut butter cup is not, repeat, not about to be discontinued. Remember a couple of years ago when they pulled Twinkies and they had to bring them back? Remember that? I didn't even like Twinkies. They're too sweet for me. I always had, even when I was a kid, they were like, ew. Of course, I was spoiled. I grew up in the Philadelphia area where we had a thing called Tasty Cakes, which are delicious. It's a regional thing. It will be the regional version around here. I'm sure they have one. What would be the North Dakota regional version of snack cakes, like the Drake's Cakes or the Tasty Cakes or the Twinkies? I don't know. At my age, I'm not supposed to eat a lot of that sugary stuff. I'm a type 2 diabetic, so you tell me. 663-1270, 663-1270, covering all kinds of ground here today. We'll continue in just a moment here at Super Talk 1270, online, supertalk1270.com, available on your iPhone, your smartphone, your ever-loving Droid, with that app called Radio Pup. And you get it for free. It's powered in Bismarck, Mandan by CK Auto. We'll be right back.
Right now, it's 53.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on Super Talk 1270.
Happy birthday to Killer Jerry Lee, by God, Lewis from Verde, Louisiana. You realize a man never had a number one record in his life? Now, a lot of people never, a lot of popular artists never did. I mean, Buddy Holly. Well, Buddy Holly had one number one record. The Grateful Dead, they never had a number one record. And, of course, it's hard to fathom, because, Buddy Holly died young, and the Dead are kind of boring. But, the Killer, he's still out there. He's still pumping that piano. And he's one of those guys, when he comes in the room, boredom runs screaming from the premises. Yet he's never had a number one record. It's like my daddy used to say about watching hockey or basketball. If you just follow the puck or the ball, you miss a lot of the action. I think that's true with music too. If you just look at what's big on the charts, you're going to miss a lot of the really, really good stuff that's out there, even today. So happy birthday to the Killer. Yeah, baby. Boy, I get happy feet. And I hate to dance. I don't like to dance. My wife, she goes nuts because I'm not a dancer. But Jerry Lee makes me want to go out and boogie. Makes me want to get happy feet on the dance floor. Anyway, got to remember what station you're working on today, Jim. All right, it's Super Talk 1270, supertalk1270.com, and Jim Walsh, and talking about the legacy of Hugh Hefner. Do you think Hugh is gone to hell? And if he is, wouldn't you want to be there with him? 663-1270. Yeah, there we go, Jim. Let's poke the bear. Let's aggravate the Bible thumpers. Get them coming out of the woodwork now. Lovely. What else? And what's your favorite place to go in the fall? Because it came out that a lot of people, the big secret about vacationing is that you want to do it in the fall. That's the best time of year probably to go vacationing, because especially if you're going to a resort area, because the crowds are gone, yet everything is still open. The weather's still decent, and then there's a lot of things going on you can do just about anywhere you go, even the beaches. It's a great time of year at the beaches. Even in the places where it's not necessarily a tropical climate, there's still some warm days to speak of. And you still got the lifestyle. You still got a lot of the stores that are open on the boardwalks and whatnot. You got to check that out. And go to the Jersey Shore, not the MTV Jersey Shore. Take my advice, go to the South Jersey Shore. If you've ever been there, you know what I'm talking about. It's a whole different ballgame there. A lot more family-friendly, a lot more low-key. You're a lot less likely to wake up in the morning with somebody throwing a bottle of Jack Daniels through your window. It's a whole different scene. So check it out for yourself and tell me where you like to go or would like to go for a fall vacation. You got some vacation hours racked up. You got to use them or lose them by the end of the year, which sucks, but, that's a reality for a lot of folks. Where do you want to go vacation? Where should the rest of us go on vacation? 663-1270, 663-1270. Now, mention the Reese's Pieces story. I mean, how could you live without Reese's peanut butter cups? Just knowing that they're on the planet, okay? Because there was this hoax that was making the rounds on the social media. Boy, do I sound like a geezer. Here and then, that Facebook thing, the Facebook. You can tell somebody's really old when they call it the Facebook. Yeah, I saw this thing on the iTunes the other day. Right. Big Spiderbeck is back. But there's no truth to the story, okay? Reese's peanut butter cups are not going away. The story has been officially debunked. I love that word, debunk. They debunked it. They will not be discontinued. Because people are pretty upset about this. I mean, you think the thing about the kneeling during the flag thing, you think that got people worked up? Well, you should hear some of the comments people are making online about the Reese's peanut butter cup thing. Reese's PBC cups, you're pulling from the shelves. I'm so sad. You're my favorite candy. And he says a few things here that are frankly unprintable. Some other comments on Twitter. People are worked up about this, but it's a hoax. It's not true. They are here to stay. Reese's cups, like death, taxes, and rock and roll, are all here to stay. Oh, so those of you who are stocking up on Reese's by the carton, you can back off. Unless, of course, you like them that much. Yeah, stick them in the fridge. They're really good if you chill them a little bit. All right. Now, and this all kind of dovetails with the Hugh Hefner thing because, again, we were talking earlier in the hour, and you can still talk about the legacy of Hugh Hefner, whether it was primarily good or bad. I think it was primarily for the better. I think the world is a better place for the existence of a guy like Hugh Hefner and no, he didn't do it necessarily out of the goodness of his heart. It was a greedy capitalist thing he did in developing this magazine and this whole brand around it, pandering to men. But what the hell is wrong with that, really? What really is wrong with that? And it opened some doors, and I think that's a healthy thing. Giving people options is always healthy. Not everybody will use those options in a healthy way, but still, it's more healthy than not. So thank you, Hef, for doing, if nothing else, for doing what you did to blow the lid off the neo-Victorianism, the sexual repression of the post-war years, and setting the stage for the upheaval of the 60s. And let's face it, he was the excess of the 70s. Kind of like Elvis in that sense. Another candy store. You know, people talk about what people want. They talk about what people should have. It's two different things. Like Lenny Bruce said, don't talk to me about what should be. Talk to me about what is. People should buy healthy foods when they go into Target. Did you hear about this, about Target? Of course, Target is based not too far from here in the Twin Cities. And stories out this week, they test-marketed a healthy snack bar in 18 of their stores for the last couple of years. I don't think the Bismarck store was one of them. Might have been. But a place called Freshie. It was a Japanese-based restaurant chain specializing in healthy foods. Now, you don't think of healthy foods when you go to Target. You think of popcorn and day-old popcorn and Pizza Hut pizza and hot dogs and whatever. But apparently some of the Twin City stores, there was one in Minneapolis, they had this Freshie store. They tried it in California. You would think if it was going to kick in, if it was going to be a hit, it would be a hit on the left coast. But no. The bottom line is this. The healthy snack bar, well, they pulled in the plug. They got the research back saying that, what happened was initially they did this research where people said they wanted healthier options. Oh, they're always saying that. You're always hearing that on the news. People complaining McDonald's serves junk food. You know, it's just like the Hefner thing. his magazine is junk, is nothing of value for anybody. And that's, in the first place, that's not true because you have the great interviews and whatnot. And in the second place, even if it is junk, so what? Some people like junk. The fact is, a lot of people like junk and they just won't admit it. A lot of adult men may look at Playboy occasionally or read it. Some even read it maybe on a regular basis. And like I say, somebody out there is still buying that magazine. They've got an online version, but they're still selling the magazine. It's still on the shelves over at Barnes & Noble, along with a lot of other magazines of different types. And they wouldn't be doing that. They wouldn't be stocking it if somebody was not coming in on a regular basis and buying the damn thing. They're not just doing it there to make a political statement. They're doing it there because it's capitalism, because it's the invisible hand. It makes money for them. That was the whole thing with Hefner. He was not doing it. I don't know if he's a charitable guy or not, but he did all this because he wanted to make a buck. And it worked for him. And people bought it. They may not admit it, just like they don't admit liking junky food, but we all do. And when you put a healthy snack bar in Target like they did, it flatlined. It just, it people stayed away by the millions on the old joke. Target tested a healthy snack bar in 18 of their stores, many of which were in California for the last 2 years, and they're pulling the plug. What happened was, and this is a nice little marketing lesson for you, a little business lesson if you're ever going into business for yourself. I'll save you the money from business school. I'll just tell you basically what you need to know here. They got the research saying that people wanted healthier options. And they thought, well, they're telling us this, they must really want it. No, that's not how it works. That's not how life works. People say they want healthy, but they want the junk. And right there is your proof. So forget about the healthy. You sell people what they need, you may be able to make a living. But if you sell people what they want, you're going to get richer than a Raja. That, of course, is the ultimate lesson. Where the hell did we come up with? Oh, the Clockwork Orange music. Thank you. That, to me, though, would be the ultimate lesson of the Hugh Hefner legacy. And if you don't like that,
boot to the head.
Exactly. Comments welcome. supertalk1270.com. I'm Jim Walsh. Supertalk1270. supertalk1270.com. Thanks for listening.